Autoweb. Welcome to the Millionaire Car Salesman Podcast, the #1 resource for automotive sales professionals, managers, and owners to learn how to make money, accumulate wealth, and to all out ball out in the auto industry. And now your hosts, Sean V. Bradley and L.A. Williams.
1, 2, 3, 4,
Autoweb.
Hey everybody, this is Sean V. Bradley, president of Dealer Synergy. Look at that, Mike. I gotta get one for you. All right. This is the president of Dealer Synergy and the creator of the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, 19,100 members strong. We are the creators of the Millionaire Car Salesman group, like the podcast, which has got 100 and almost 40,000 downloads, almost 140,000 downloads. And now the Millionaire Car Salesman Club on Clubhouse, Mike Udell. And damn, I've got one of the top general managers in the United States of America. You know, Mike Udell is currently the general manager of BMW of Bakersfield, and he is shattering records like a boss. Mike Udell, come to the mic, Mike. What's up, Mike?
How are you, Sean? Been a while.
Hell yes, man. How long have we been rocking me and you, brother?
I was just telling LA before we got on the podcast that you came to a 20 group meeting in either late 07 or early 2008. And then you and I shortly thereafter put together our first enterprise group where we had the internet team in a remote location, which was kind of out of the box. But they were managing the leads for 10 brands and 4 locations in Central Illinois at the time. So, and then of course we went to, record-breaking Toyota store in Michigan, and now I'm here out in sunny California.
So Mike, we're talking about like 14. Siri is listening in on us. That's the Apple iWatch. So Mike, you've been a close friend and a client, over multiple rooftops over your career. So man, that's about like what? That's 14, almost 15 years. Me and you've been rocking. Is that about right?
Yes, and we're still crazy. Pretty. And we're still pretty.
I don't know about you, but I know I'm pretty. I know I'm real pretty. So how long? Tell us just really quick. Just give us a little bit of your background. How long you've been in the automotive industry, and how did you become like a prolific general manager? And I'm saying that because I'm qualified to say that.
Listen, it's all I know. I started selling cars in 1977. So Frank asked me how long, and I said, well, it's been 44 years, 2 months, 12 days, 5 hours, and 17 minutes when I sent her the reply. She asked me how long I've been doing this. So it's my entire life, 44 years doing this. I don't know many guys that have stayed the course for that long, But I was a GM, probably I sold for 5, sales managed for 5. So I've been a GM for 34 years.
Wow. I cannot wait to get into this interview. But holy crap. That's like almost Abraham Lincoln, like 4 score. At least you're 2.5 scores, right? You're 2 scores. You're 40 plus years into this industry, but 35 as a general manager.
Sure.
And you were one of you were with Toyota for a long time, and you were at the pinnacle level of Toyota GMs. Can you just tell us your relationship with these manufacturers? Like your name rings bells with a lot of these OEMs, right?
Well, I've been approved to be on the franchise agreement with 10 different brands.
Oh my God!
I was with Toyota and Lexus for about 25 years of my career. With Lexus, 4-time President's Award winner, 1-time Board of Governors, 2-time Elite Lexus. And it's a business where you go into a dealership, and it's not about making money. It's about changing the culture, changing the way people think, changing how they respond to customers, how they respond to each other on a daily basis. And when you do that, the money just follows.
So Mike, tell me some of the things before we get into this current store right here. Just tell me some of the things that you're super proud of that you've accomplished besides, BMW Bakersfield, because that's what the rest of the interview is going to be about. But just like you've been in the industry, you said for 40 something years, there's got to be some stuff that you were personally proud of. And I want to give you the time to kind of acknowledge those things.
Well, unlike most guys in the business, I'm a backdoor forward guy. I'm pretty well versed in service parts, collision centers, So the fixed operation, I go into every store, and it's interesting. Most dealers, when they, in the interview or after they hire, they say, well, our service is good. We just want you to focus on variable. And I just always give them an affirmative nod. But when you go in the back and you impact that department where the people get the least amount of attention, but they have the greatest amount of loyalty to the company. Most of your tenured people are back in the service department and the parts department. And when you give them attention, make them feel important, and you start moving those numbers, and you lower the break even on the showroom to where you only have to sell maybe 20 or 25 cars in the 200 car store to make money. Okay. When you got 100% of your overhead covered by the fixed operations, this business becomes not only pretty rewarding, but it's also pretty recession proof on the downside.
Man, that's the thing that I think that most people really don't talk about a lot, is that there's a lot of general managers, my air quotations up here, that have this title of general manager, but they're really just a glorified GSM. Like they run the sales department.
Best desk manager in the store.
Say again?
They're the best desk manager in the store.
Exactly.
Yeah.
But a real general manager, in my opinion, it personifies like the mixed martial arts analogy, because to be a real gifted GM, you need to have fluency. You need to have fluency in fixed ops, variable ops. That means sales, parts, service, aftermarket, the business office, all of that stuff. Am I correct, Mike?
You're 100% correct. I remember early on in my career, the other thing that we don't talk a lot about is you have to be able to manage the balance sheet. You have to be a good cash and asset manager. I remember in a 20 group years ago, the dealer's son, and we were all talking about lunch, just telling war stories. And he says, my gosh, I can't believe that stuff goes on in your dealership. And I said, listen, he was Bill the second. So I called him Billy. And I said, listen, Billy, take a legal pad and a pencil and write down 25 ways to steal from your dealership. And he said, well, I couldn't do that. I said, then you'll never catch a thief. We're in an industry where everything is negotiable. And when everything is negotiable, you have to watch people's behavior, in everything you do. And I know that's a little bit of a dark side, but you have to understand how to protect the owner's investment.
I love it. Yeah, I'm going to bite. I'm going to bite. I'm a good host right here. So forget about 25. Give me 5 things that dealers and GMs should watch out for.
Well, one of the few things they don't think about is that guy on the wholesale parts counter. He's got the biggest account is getting cost plus 15, and then he's got his buddies getting cost plus 12, and they only buy half the amount of parts. Well, something's going on. You have to be able to watch that.
That's one.
Absolutely. You have to be able to watch those things. You have to be able to watch what are your protocols and your processes to make sure you're protecting cash in the dealership.
Okay.
Yeah, that's number 2.
Okay.
Number 3, we pretty much eliminated wholesale at the dealership level. None of the wholesalers don't show up, but you sure can run them across the block and make a deal outside the auction lane with the guys that are buying it. So you got to watch a lot of the things. And again, I wanted this to be more motivational, as I'm sure you did, but it's just that's managing and protecting the owner's investment, being a good steward of their money. You have to remember, it's not your money.
But Mike, I don't think it's pessimistic, because I think the dealer principals and GMs that listen to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast that are my clients would love to hear this. So, and again, that's like saying that, you shouldn't talk about having seat belts or car safety seat checks because, it's scary. But no, I think you're doing a positive thing by letting people know that these are things that you should be watching out for. Because you're absolutely right. A GM is almost like a secret service agent. Your job is to protect the dealer principal and the organization. Would you agree?
100% right. You got.
All right. So that's 3. Give me just a couple more, couple of quick things.
Well, who's buying your supplies and materials, right? In the collision center, who's providing all the clips and lock washers and, all the things that you really don't count that you charge, that you lump together and other supplies on a repair order. Who's doing that? You have to watch vendors coming in, make sure they're taken care of. You're taking care of the people that are taking care of you as well. And, sometimes a lot of dealers love to negotiate and break everybody down, all these vendors down to no profit. Well, when it's okay for everybody to make a buck, you end up having very loyal vendors. All of those little nagging problems go away, and you're not always looking for the next guy to come in and give you a whiz bang deal and, throw somebody out. Who's your tire supplier? I think you have to have good relationships because I've always operated in secondary markets. Bakersfield, California, Kern County is about 900,000 people. Central Illinois was about 700,000. Tallahassee, Florida is a 500,000 market. And those are markets that are big enough that you can make a lot of money, but they're small enough that you can be connected to the community and build good business relationships, in the community that'll improve your business.
Mike, I love this. And so again, obviously this is for the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. However, if you are currently in the Millionaire Car Salesman Facebook group, because we're live streaming right now, we already have Brad Wise. He just said, listen to Mike, one of the absolute best. And Jason Kuhn said, Mike is the man. I've had the chance to see him in person twice at Sean's conferences. So if you've got any questions, and I see that Jesse Yarman, dealer principal, is watching this too. So if you've got any questions,
let Brad know. I got to let Brad know if I had his money, I could burn mine.
Brad, you heard that?
But I appreciate the compliment.
So here, if you're listening to this in the live stream in the Millionaire Car Salesman group, just ask any questions, just post them in the comments and I'll read them to Mike and we'll go from there. Okay. So Mike, let's now turn this into, just this amazing success. So you are at BMW Bakersfield. Where's that located at exactly?
BMW Bakersfield, California is in the Central Valley. So we're in the San Joaquin Valley, which is the central part of the state, and it runs from Bakersfield to the south all the way up to Sacramento. So you've got enough agriculture in those 4 or 5 counties from north to south to feed the entire United States. So, the county that we operate in it's like $52 billion a year in agriculture. Kern County, California, there are months that we pull more oil out of the ground than West Texas. So it's more of a Midwestern kind of a Texas, Oklahoma environment here. It's not the California, the coastal, I call them the coastal snobs, but it's more, it's very conservative. It feels more Midwest. So it was a good fit for me, quite frankly. And there's a lot of money here. And it might be one of the best car markets in the country because my nearest competitor for BMW is 80 miles away.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. So it's, it's terrific. And you got to go into the LA market, which isn't that far. I mean, if I leave at night, 7 o'clock at night, I can be in Beverly Hills by, 8:30. So it's not that far. And like I said, it's a mid-sized market. There's only one of everybody in the marketplace. And I think for years, the group that I work for own most of the brands in the market. And for years, they never had a full-time dedicated general manager in the store. And because they just thought, well, BMW, it's a good brand. It's going to just do okay. And when they brought me in 2 years ago, the store was making money, but it was never hitting it out of the park, And so we've had a couple of back-to-back. We're breaking our own records right now, in the last 2 years in sales, used car sales, gross profit generated, net to gross. All the key metrics that your 20 groups are looking at, we're breaking our own records, and we've already gotten off to a real good start this year. If we hit our forecast, we'll smash everything again from 2019 and 2020. So
speaking of smashing records, I'm looking at this. So, your team has broken a tremendous amount of records and just in the last 2 years. So again, can you go over them before? So again, new F&I gross per unit, used retail gross, used F&I gross per unit, service gross, net profit, total gross, VSG percentages. Like, break this down. There's like so many different things. And Brad Wise has got a question, but I want you to talk to us about all the records.
Well, your variable selling gross, that's how much you have left after you pay controlled expenses.
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Don't be the last one with your hand up at the auction. VinQ Vehicle Buying Center gives dealers the digital and in-store tools you need to buy direct from the public. On average, inventory bought from the public grosses $1,200 higher on the front end alone. VinQ turns buying cars direct from the public into a business. The most profitable dealerships in the country are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in additional front end gross. Private party acquisition starts with VinQ. See it at VinQ.com.
After controlled expenses and before you pay the rent.
Yes.
And the fixed overhead and then the net profit. Highline store, we're netting over 30% net to gross. So, if we get $1 gross, we're keeping 30 cents on the bottom line. Last year, when every BMW dealer, the record I'm most proud of is last year we were the #1 dealership in America for BMW in increase in customer pay labor in the service department.
Woof.
Everybody else went backward. We went forward. In fact, they had to show on the report, on the Excel report, we were up 300%.
Oh my God.
Because we brought in a customer care center, just like an internet team in the showroom. I had appointment setters for all service appointments, making outbound calls, well scripted, well trained, driving traffic into the service department, and not spending anything in service merchandising, not having to give away coupons.
So wait a minute. Let's talk about this for a second. Then we're going to go to Brad's question, because this is awesome. Okay, so you didn't call it a service BDC. You just called it something else. What did you call it?
Customer care center.
Okay, so you built a customer care center, which is also known as a service BDC. Is that correct?
Yeah, basically, yeah.
Okay, yeah, but I like customer care center better, especially for Highline.
Sure.
I love that. So can you go through just the business model of what that looks like? Because before you do, I want to reiterate what you said. When everybody was going backwards in a pandemic, you became the #1, and that's the title we're going to go in, the #1 BMW dealership in the United States of America for increasing customer pay. That's insane, brother.
Yeah, service increased from 19 to 2020. Yeah.
Okay. So
I'm in the LA region, dude. These are the biggest BMW dealerships in the world. I'm small compared to a lot of them, but the biggest BMW dealerships in the world are the competitors in the LA basin.
So break down, what is a customer care center? I know, but I want you to explain it from your general manager perspective. Like what is it like?
They're appointment centers, but unlike what we find, I talked about my gals in my internet department, right? Which has still got the Sean Bradley stamp on it, right?
Thank you.
I got my internet team, and they're closers. They're selling appointments. They're ferociously selling appointments, right? And they are absolute killers. I won't give you their names because nobody's going to recruit them. These are my gals, and I'm proud of the job they do. In the service department, that have to have a little softer touch because that's customer care. They're they're making outbound calls. They're taking all inbound calls. Most dealerships, if they look at their call abandon rate in the service department, if it's 20 or 25% of abandoned calls, they're doing a great job answering their phones. Okay, I've got that down to less than 4% because the service calls go right into these 3 women. Okay, they take all the inbound calls. They take the status calls. They're trained to be able to look up the service ticket and give the customer a breakdown. Mr. Bradley, I've got great news. It looks like we've finished all the work on your car. And even better news, it looks like we're going to have that wrapped up an hour earlier than we thought. However, I have a little more time. And we noticed that the last time you here, you didn't want us to go ahead and change the rear brakes. We'd like to go ahead and put those pads on. Seeing that we have the time to do that, would you mind if we keep it in the shop and get that done for you? Right?
Yes.
So that's what they do. They make outbound calls to our customers. They're working in concert with the service technicians that are now required to do a video presentation under the car so they can send that to the customer and say,
wait a minute, Mike, how long have I been telling you and every other dealer to be using video, email, and video text messages for both, sales and for service?
100%. You coined the phrase, a picture says 1,000 words, a video says 1,000,000.
Yes, absolutely. So again, I'm loving that you put this together. So let's go through it again. So you have your 3 girls, your women are doing these calls. The second one is the outbound call. So kind of give us what an outbound phone call looks like or sounds like.
Well, we're going to look at, we're calling our entire unit, all of our units in operation. Anybody that drives a BMW within our marketplace, and we keep pushing that ring out. Now we're up to about almost 50 miles. And again, there's a lot of real estate. This is, between us and any major metro. So I've got a lot of sparsely populated real estate. So I've got to make a big circle. So for those metro dealers, they probably don't understand that dynamic. But this will work in any market because you're making the outbound call. You're calling the customer, reminding them of their service. It's almost a concierge service. So let's just say a customer, for example, let's say you bought the prepaid maintenance on your lease, right? Well, most customers, they stop using that at 50%. Once they get that first couple of service, they forget about it. Our girls are calling up like a concierge service, reminding the customer, do we want to schedule the car for an inspection? And by the way, you've got the scheduled maintenance. If it's going to need any additional maintenance, we want to take care of that for you. So can we schedule that appointment? Will you need a loaner car? Could we do a pickup and delivery? So we're proactively making outbound calls to our customers to create that positive ownership experience. We're not reactive. We want to be responsive to what the customer's car needs, because everybody's busy doing their thing, right?
100%. What would you say? What's your process for service appointment confirmation and service appointment reschedules?
Well, if a customer misses the appointment by 20 minutes, we're on the phone to reschedule. Okay. And we do confirm our calls, our service appointments the day before, that were set like prior to. So if somebody sets an appointment today for tomorrow, we're not confirming, but we're still having a great show rate. If they're late, we're going to call and reschedule or offer an opportunity to pick up and deliver the car to them.
Okay, so I want to recap for the people that are just tuning in right now. Obviously, in the Millionaire Car Salesman Group, obviously, if this is a podcast, you've been listening to the beginning. But again, you have a customer care center that you've created, and in the freaking pandemic, you rose ahead of these juggernaut dealerships to becoming the #1 BMW dealership in the United States of America for increased customer pay. That's phenomenal. And so you have just 3 full-time service BDC agents, if you will, or customer care agents. And they're answering all the inbound service calls, and they're doing service scheduling. From my experience as a BDC trainer, and we do service BDC as well, is that, a lot of times the service writers might stack appointments. The service BDC, the customer care agents don't do that. So are you seeing that kind of alleviates the problem of stacking appointments on the service writer schedule, that they're able to make more strategic appointments?
Well, I'm not so worried about stacking appointments. I wanted to make service appointments based on, and the only time I throttle back that time duration. So I want an appointment per advisor every 20 minutes.
Okay. So an appointment per advisor every 20 minutes.
Every 20 minutes. Now, if my CSI starts to go down, I might spread that out every 25, because perhaps the consultation isn't there. But it's all based on customer behavior. If the customer behavior is positive, we're going to continue aggressively bringing them in. What I'm more concerned about is the advisors. They get in at 7:30, but they don't want their first appointment till 8 o'clock when the technician comes in. Well, I want that first guy driving in at 7:30. They got to be there at the opening bell. Well, I leave at 5 o'clock today, so I'm not going to schedule anything till after 4:30, after 4:30. Well, anybody coming in after 3 o'clock, they know they're going to leave their car overnight. So we've taken that away. We've taken that prerogative away from the advisors. We schedule from the opening bell to the closing bell, period.
Wow, these are nuggets, man. I love it. So let's go back in. So they're taking all the inbound phone calls. They're making the outbound phone calls. What about the CSI phone calls that after the service is completed, do these people, call and make sure that they had a great experience? And do you have some type of, we talked about this years ago. I don't know if you remember my buyback program. So I don't know if you have that, where let's just say the RO clears, the service BDC or customer care agent's going to call the client, and basically almost like a stealth CSI. Hi, my name is Sean Bradley. I'm with the client satisfaction department at ABC BMW. I wanted to just make sure that you had an incredible experience at our dealership in the service department, that they took care of all the, the stuff, boom, boom, boom. But did anybody tell you that we have a buyback program? So that X amount of dollars that you just spent on a BMW that's 6 years old out of warranty, we could apply that towards the purchase of a new vehicle. You're shaking your head. Yes. So tell me about those buyback programs and those type of things that you guys do.
Well, I have in BMW, you're required to have, manage what they call full circle, which is your lease process. We lease over 80% of our new cars and our loaners. And so what my customer care center does is they get a copy of the due bill or the WIO, depending on which side of the Mississippi you're on, right? So if you're on east of the Mississippi, I think they're called WIOs. If you're west of the Mississippi, is your due bill. So even if there's no condition of sale, those customer care specialists are thanking that customer for their purchase, or thanking them for being loyal customers if they repurchased or released, and scheduling that first service appointment. If there's something on the due bill, maybe tinted windows or so forth, they manage that and completely take that out of the salesman's hands. So they're managing that because they also manage the loaner car fleet. I've got 50 loaner cars and you can still run out. So somebody has to manage that, right? Somebody has to make sure they go out and they come back in. And those are all of the processes there. And I've got, of the three, I've got one lead gal that does most of the surgical stuff like you're talking about, appointment confirmation, recommitting, so follow-up phone calls to make sure the customers are happy. The other two are just hardcore, measured on inbound appointment ratio, outbound call appointment ratio, call duration. That call better be wrapped up in 3 minutes and you better be on the next call. Pretty the same kind of discipline as the Dealer Synergies always had on the front end. So a lot of those same principles have transferred very nicely into that department, and you measure them based on those metrics.
And I'm just throwing more stuff out there. Like, what about like declined ROs? So if somebody comes in for one thing and then you suggest that they do something and they decline it, how long do you space it out before a BDC rep goes back, to try to, capture that declined RO business?
Well, we're probably within 24 hours because a lot of times, honey, I'm going into town. Let me drop your car off at the service department. Well, you might be one of the owners, but you're not the decision maker on what that car needs. So we want to make sure that if a husband's bringing a wife's car, wife bringing a husband, or the kid's bringing the car in, we want to make sure the decision maker is notified that there's additional would recommend work that we would like to go ahead and schedule. And that's an assumptive close. We want your BMW always run like a BMW. So we're going to just assume that you're going to want that scheduled and get that work done in a timely manner.
Okay, now, since we're talking about service, here's the thing, Mike. What I love about you is you're straight up like a real MMA artist, man, in automotive sales, is that NADA says that a service customer is 7 times as likely to purchase a vehicle from when they service the car from. Fact one. Fact two, every dealership I have ever come across has a whole segment of clients that are unsold service customers, meaning they service their vehicle at the dealership, and some of these people have never purchased a vehicle from where they service their car from. So how do you handle, because this is a sales question, but utilizing your service opportunities, what's your process, or what's your theory, or what's your strategy on how to handle and maximize unsold service customers?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Did you know 40% of service calls go to voicemail or hang up?
Your call has been forwarded to an automated voice messaging system.
How many times does it take for your customers to connect with someone at your store?
The world may never know.
Unless you have CallSource customers connect with 96% of their clients' calls and convert over 85% of bookable calls to appointments. Really? If you're not performing at that level, or if you don't know, then text HELP to 855-963-2686 and receive a free evaluation of your store's performance.
In a case like ours, I want to preface my answer by saying there's a huge advantage when you lease 80% and the customer has to bring the car back, and I don't take that car back. If Irvine, 2.5 hours away, was good enough to lease for saving $10 or $15 a month, then they're certainly good enough to bring the car back to. In other words, we have a value proposition here. If you buy from us and service with us, we're going the extra mile to take care of you, right? So that mentality, right, that doesn't apply in a densely dealer populated metro area.
Right.
So I got to be careful answering that question, but the principles are the same. You still have to touch the customer. It's so simple. Do you appreciate them when they come in and spend money with you? Do you say I'm sorry when you don't get it right, and do something tangible to try to make up for something that's less than what they expected?
So, Mike, I'm sorry, I got to jump on this. So you're telling me that if they don't lease from you, that you won't take the car back?
If it's a car I can use, I'll take the lease back, but BMW has incentives based on what percentage of my lease portfolio I buy.
Right.
And I'm buying 90%. Most of the LA dealers are buying 66% because the customer has the ability to go to any number of dealerships within an hour,
Okay. So, but do you proactively, whether it's your sales rep or your service BDC people, do you have like a manifest list that you call, email, and hit to try to convert your service customers into either leasing or buying from you?
I have a gal by the name of Melissa that works in the.
I'll bleep that out. We can't give anybody's names because we don't want you to get poached. No. I'm saying for your benefit. We don't want them to, hey, can I speak to Melissa? You want a job?
That's fine. Her name's actually not Melissa.
Okay, good. I love you.
But anyway, she works our portfolio.
Okay.
She's always working our portfolio. That's her job. And she works all the orphan owners and resells those. Or she'll set an appointment for the tenured salespeople that I have, which, by the way, I have I'm doing about 130 retail a month with 8 salespeople. So my ratio of sales to salesman is excellent. And she sets appointments for them, and I'll pay her like a coordinator. I'll pay her $50 for a show and $25 for a sell. So she has incentive. She's got skin in the game to just start at the top of the list every day and work her way down contacting those customers. So I have somebody dedicated to calling those customers back.
I love it, Mike. Okay, so we work with the Coons Automotive Group, and there's a woman I want to shout out that we interviewed before. Her name is Morgan Anderson. This woman averages 40 to 46 cars a month at a Chevy dealership. Mike, she's only been in business for like 4 years.
Morgan Anderson, can I write that down?
Yeah, I would poach her if I could. No, don't you dare do that. My dealer would kill me. She's a rock star. So she went from making $2,700 a month before the automotive industry in retail to making $29,000 a month as an automotive sales professional. And one of her things that she does and she crushes is the service drive, and she was just interviewed about a month ago on our podcast, and she sells about like 15 to 18 cars a month from the service drive. Her tips were she gets to work 2 hours earlier. So the store opens at 10 o'clock on the sales floor. She's there at 8 a.m. to work the service drive. She also has become very, very good friends with all the service writers, and she just really takes care of them and she maximizes it. But Mike, you've been in the industry literally double the amount of time I have. I've been doing this for 22 years now, and you've been doing this for, double the amount of time I have. And I got to tell you, for at least my 22 years, everybody I've ever come across says, work the service drive, work the service drive. I mean, damn it. And NEDA says that our service customers 7 times as likely to purchase, but they don't. Most salespeople, even though it's a couple feet away from the showroom, they avoid it like it's the plague. And here's what I figured, Mike, is it's only 2 reasons. Either they don't really give a shit about their life and their career that much to just go a little bit out of their way, or they don't know how. And Mike, I really believe that a lot of people don't know how. And to be honest with you, I'm gonna drop my tone inflection. I don't believe a lot of GMs and GSMs either, because they say work the service drive. Okay, boss. Well, what the fuck does that mean? Because if you don't that's great. Like, no shit, Sherlock, work the service drive. But if I don't arm you with the right things to say, how to do it, or whatever. So let's just pretend it's just 2 guys bullshit. Me and you, Mike, we've known each other for a while, and I just come to work for you, and I'm like, Mike, I was listening to this amazing podcast. This guy's a genius. Some guy named Sean, he's got this orange on, and he said, work the service drive. What does that mean? How do I work the service drive, Mike? So what would you advise me if I was a sales consultant?
Well, you're consulting everything that you've already said, and get familiar with the customers, just engage them. You're there just to say hi, to let them know you appreciate them. And a lot of the reason that most salesmen don't do it is we've trained them to be hooked on instant gratification, right? They don't understand delayed gratification. When you're in the service department, it's all delayed gratification. You have to be a well-organized person. You taught that to gals in the internet department that just came, from working, behind the counter with a headset on at McDonald's. That you have to be organized. You have to take notes. If you talk to somebody, you set up a time to call them, you offer them something to drive. Hey, when's your lease going to be up? You know what? When we have your car come in, a couple of months before then, why don't I go ahead and have a car ready for you? Or maybe let me pick it up and deliver it to you. See, and again, I'm spoiled in my market. I'm not a subject matter expert on this particular part of the business, but I've got a service manager that's been here 22 years. This guy is out picking up and delivering cars all the time. It's not BMW Bakersfield Service Department, it's Jim's Service Department. Our customers refer to it as Jim's Service Department. So I'm fortunate enough to have a lot of people that and I mean, he sells 5 or 6 cars himself a month, sends them up to the showroom. Our advisors have all been here a good period of time. And so they're engaging the customers the same way. And of course, they're paid a referral to do that. So, this would probably be the least enthusiastic part of our little discussion here because, I'm just blessed with a lot of people that have been here a long time and loyal clientele. So that's an area where I don't have to hit it out of the park to retain a higher than average, percentage of my customers.
No, this is, it's still very powerful, Mike. I think we're on the same page. So to transition, we're going to redirect because we talked a lot about fixed. Obviously you've been extremely successful with it. And again, I commend you for that. I mean, damn, that's pretty powerful. So let's go back to our friend, Brad Wise. Okay. Brad says, does Mike have a buying center? What is he doing to obtain more used inventory? Thanks. That's a good question.
I'm the general manager and the used car manager. I do all the buying, and every month I'm buying cars like CarMax does. We're having good luck. My internet team takes all of the Carfax customers that want to sell their car to us. So Carfax has done a good job. I'm buying even older cars because, again, I've got in this part of the country, we've got shrinking middle class, but you've got a lot of real working class that they just need a beater with a heater. They just need a car. And then you have people that can buy a new BMW. So I'm buying cars that got over 100,000 miles on them. And we've got a local auction here just in the same auto mall as all the dealers are. And, I'm making a few $1,000s a month just on those cars. Buying cars, again, we buy 90%, 80 to 90% of our lease portfolio. So that's $45.50 a month. And I buy a few from, BMW Direct. And what we trade for, I really only have to sell 75, 80 used cars a month. I only have to buy 4 or 5 a week, to supplement my inventory. So, but I'm chasing, he's in a big volume Chevrolet dealership. I'm trying to do 370,000 in gross on 75, 80 cars.
Listen, have you ever met my guy, Danny Zalowski? He's the dealer principal of a small dealer group. He has like 2 stores in Kansas City called Country Hill Motors. Have you met Danny?
I know Country Hill Motors. I was at Aristocrat Motors right across I-35 from there.
Okay. Have you ever connected with Danny Zalowski? He's the dealer.
No, never. I've never actually met him. Of course, I was in Kansas City for years.
Yeah. So Danny is a very good friend of mine and client for at least 3 years now. And he's been a speaker at the Internet Sales 20 Group Conference. We've co-presented at Digital Dealer before. We're going to co-present again in June in Digital Dealer. Danny and Mike, you should really go if you just write down for a little note for you. And same thing for Brad Wise. He is probably the best person I've seen at VBC, like vehicle buying centers. He buys over 100 cars from the public in Kansas City, and he's directly across the street from CarMax. He's increased his gross profit by $1,200 a copy on the front end. And I learned a lot from him, that he makes sometimes more money buying cars right than he actually does selling cars. It's amazing. And so again, he said to me, and I'm like I said, I'm a student too, not just a teacher, that the person, when you go to auction, the person that wins pays the most, like literally. Right. So he has eliminated all of his auction fees, acquisition fees, transportation fees, and all that. He just focuses on driving traffic to his vehicle buying center, kind of like, I guess, what you're doing with CarMax, but he works with the vehicle acquisition network, and then he just drives traffic to selltocountryhill.com. So if you go to selltocountryhill.com, he just puts a bunch of money into it, and then he's got VinQ, which is really kind of cool. So Brad, just giving that little nugget to you, and I'm going to tag Danny on here. You guys should definitely connect, especially with you being from that area, Mike.
Yeah, love to.
All right, cool. So talk to me about, because you've been an early adopter, because like I said, we've been working together for, over 14 years now. You are early adopter about the internet and BDC. Like back in 2013, I did a presentation, or 2014 for NADA. It was called The Internet and Phones Are the New Showroom. I did that like 8-9 years ago, whatever. It's crazy. Like, do you believe that the internet and phones in 2021 is definitely the new showroom?
After these messages, we'll be right back.
Attention auto dealers. You need an opportunity to do business. AutoWeb is one of the largest suppliers of high quality leads. I mean, high quality buyers. At a 10% closing ratio, you will be at less than $190 per car sold. Don't just settle for what you get. AutoWeb can fully customize your results through targeted markets and/or zip codes, and as a partner, you will get premium placement within search results. Who better to do that than literally the people that invented automotive internet sales? If you want to sell more cars more often and more profitably, then you need AutoWeb.
Well, yeah, you and I were talking about that when I was a presenter in Boston in 2012. So the only thing you do at the brick and mortar is retain the customer, provide a good, meet their demands when they arrive, and then create a good ownership experience. Everything's been sold online forever, right?
100%.
And the same thing is here now. The cars are sold virtually. 100% agree with you. We've been on that same, you and I've been on that same page for a long, long time. And now we're seeing this little more subtle shift where we're getting less and less response, or it's more and more difficult with that heavy hitting email, phone call. We have to have strategies and technology where we're engaging the customer when they're online, shopping your site in real time. That to me is like the new frontier. We've already landed on the moon, time to land on Mars. Okay. We've got to figure out how to engage the customer in real time. Okay. While they're on your site, and there's technology that helps you do that.
Like what?
Then you back. What's that?
Well, like what? What technology?
Well, Car Now, adding the retailing tool where you're offering the customer the opportunity to engage in the whole configuration of a car deal while they're on your site.
So I did not know that you're on Car Now. I'm a big fan of Car Now, and I just think that's freaking awesome. How long have you been using Car Now? And I guess you're talking about the digital retailing product, which is Buy Now, correct?
Yes, we're getting all of it. In fact, we're replacing our form submissions. When a customer just goes to the site and they want to value their trade. They're not engaged in the retail selling tool. They're just going into your site. And instead of seeing that form, it automatically, we get a hit and a chat opportunity is offered to the customer to help walk them through that process. I think that's the key, because the customer goes online, they submit a lead because it's the only way they have to communicate. And we get in at 8 o'clock in the morning. Well, they just showed up at work and we're pounding away on their phones and pounding away on their email, their inbox, when we had the chance to engage them when they were the most interested in buying a car, what their trade was worth, because that's when they were on your site.
That's awesome.
That's
How many?
key.
So here, watch this. Hey, Tim. Yeah, I'm here. Okay, so I'm sorry for sandbagging you. I'm live streaming in the group right now in front of 19,000 people, and I had no idea, like all kidding aside, that you were working with Mike Udell. You know who Mike Udell is?
His newest favorite client.
Yes. Okay, so I'm interviewing the GM of BMW of Bakersfield, and we are like 40 minutes into this. I can't even make this shit up. And Mike is just talking about technology, boom, boom, boom. I'm like, well, what technology? And I swear to God, to everybody that's listening to this, I did not plan this at all. And he's like, Car Now. So again, I just wanted to just bring you in the loop and kind of have both of you guys. Okay, so I've got Tim Cox, who's the co-founder of Car Now. I got him on my cell phone and a mic, and I got Mike Udell live streaming with his sexy grin right now. And so, Mike, tell me again, like what is if you could just like bottom line, because if there's dealer principals and GMs listening, what about, Car Now is the most important and valuable resource to you as a GM?
Well, there's two things. A year ago, before the pandemic, right? I was going to add a retail selling tool. And the reason why I dragged my feet is because my internet coordinators were so doggone good, right? At driving traffic in. But then I became aware that I've got a lot of customers on my site that I could proactively engage. And then I spent a little time with Tim on the phone. And I mean, it was like he had me at hello. I mean, he's showing me this stuff. And he said the same thing. I stole from him before he got him on the phone. You got to engage them now and quit chasing them.
Right.
And it just resonated so powerfully with me, because I'm also seeing the frustration on who I think are excellent internet coordinators. I mean, excellent. They're all bilingual. They're ferocious. They kill at getting appointments set and in. And yet they're saying, boy, it's getting more and more difficult. The leads are thinning out, and that's all because the customers want to transact virtually. We're completing this circle of life now where they really are now wanting they see another option instead of sending a lead in and, oh shit, now I got to go into the dealership, right? Now they're saying, hey, I can actually put this all together now, and there's somebody that will help me do that. And that's Tim's genius. So, I'm just grabbing onto what he's created and what he did. And tell you something, it took him 30 minutes to have I was convinced I was going to go with one retail selling tool.
So
And
bottom
then I went
line,
with
how
him.
are you making okay, so whatever the investment is, are you making money off of the tool?
Well, we're in the middle of getting this thing launched. That's how early it is.
Okay.
But again, this is something that you have to look at as a massive disruptor to your business.
Yes.
It's not just, okay, the factory says I got to have a retail selling tool on my site, so I put one on. And like everything else in our industry, the minimum you're required quickly becomes the maximum you're willing to do. And in the case of this, I'm like, okay, what do my scripts sound like? Okay, what does my digital marketing look like? What does my advertising look like? Do I need to change my messaging at all touch points to the customer to sync up to this virtual ability to transact? Okay, so it's more than just another widget on the website. It is a behavioral thing that will change. I had a 2-hour training session with the coordinator saying, you have to be so convinced of what your role is here, because if you're not 100% confident in what your job and your importance is, when I add this disruptor to your world, you're not going to know how to handle it.
So Tim, real quick, I did not know that you knew my friend, Mike Udell. I've known him for like 14, 15 years now. I've built departments with him. I think we're up to 3 or 4 different organizations that he's been over the last, 14, 15 years. So what's your vision? Because you're the architect and you're obviously the co-founder of CarNow. Like, I don't know if you saw all the records this man is shattering by them implementing like CarNow, at their like record-breaking store. Like what is the goal? What is he looking to accomplish? Like he said, it's not just about like their manufacturer says we need a retail tool, so let's just pick one. With having a powerful tool like CarNow, what can he expect as a net lift or as an addition to his game?
Well, first of all, I appreciate the kind words. Thank you, Mike and Sean. And let me correct you just a little bit. I did not create anything. We never say the word I at CarNow, and I'm the play-by-play car guy. And there are a lot of people that are a lot smarter than me on the CarNow family that actually created our product. But look, at the end of the day, this is a very simple business. When you communicate with customers, instead of, I've been saying this for 6 years, several other people have taken it and ran with it, and that's okay. I'm flattered. But as long as we remember that you can never sell a car without a conversation. So even though the widget and people want to communicate, and knowing that there's several things that once dealers have that aha moment and understand, because I was part of the 1999.com bubble, internet's a fad. We treated internet leads, not as good as, just get them in. And most managers, unfortunately, in the country, out of the 16,000 franchise dealers in the country, that's their favorite words. Just get them in, just get them in, just get them in, just get them in. And what we're finding is, and the reason that I think this is so important, and this is impromptu, obviously, because I'm just sitting in my car and you guys call, I'm just telling you the way it is. When people are treated, 99% of everybody that shops for a car expects to have a bad experience. When we give them a little more than they ask for, and we set the tone, they respond. And the most powerful thing, there's other companies that are doing a great job. Let me just say that Joe Chur is my dear friend. I talk about him all the time at Dealer Inspire. And the last big conference that I spoke at, I gave some numbers. Well, guess what? Darren Haygood, who's their, I think, COO, I believe, and I apologize, Darren, if I got that wrong, but he gave, when I started talking about when we're seeing deals that are constructed this way, historically, the fear of the manager, I don't want to get price, we're actually seeing anywhere from $250 to some cases $400 higher PVR per vehicle retail.
Amen, brother.
So that being said, once we get it, it's not rocket science. And to have a company like Cars.com and Dealer Inspired not collaborate, but be walking in lockstep with the exact same numbers and seeing the same thing, that's when this isn't BS, this isn't going away, and it's really simple. So if we communicate with those customers, if we treat them and set the tone and give them a frictionless way, and what we're seeing is, yes, there is a good chunk of people that say, yeah, please deliver the car at home, but most people still want to go into the dealership. They want that delivery experience. They just do. They just don't want the hassle of going back and forth and spending 2 hours in the business office.
Mm-hmm.
So what we're doing is eliminating that. And we're seeing, you're going to get me to start preaching, we're seeing a 24.2% increase in PBR on the back end.
Yep.
When deals are constructed this way, now there's some best practices there. You're going to be preaching, Sean. That would stop, don't let them go all the way through, stop, give them a menu presentation. But when it's done that way, not only are we seeing an increase on the front, an increase on the back, and our customers are saying, you know what, I'm willing to pay a little bit more for a better experience.
I love it. I love it. Tim, thank you. I didn't mean to sandbag you. I just was kind of shocked, that this came up because, we were just talking earlier today. I didn't know that Mike was a client of yours. We're like literally now in a live stream. So thank you so much for jumping in. I'm going to finish my national interview with Mr. Mike Udell, but I didn't want,
Thank you, Mike. Talk to you soon, brother.
Take care.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye. Small world, this industry, isn't it, Mike?
It is. It's 1 degree of separation.
It is absolutely 1 degree of separation. So, all right. So we've been rocking and rolling here for a while. Let's just bring it back. And again, if I may, without being corny, I would like you to kind of recap your career. I mean, not just in the last 40 years, 40 plus years you've been in automotive sales, but just your life experience being on this planet for a lot more than 40 years. What advice do you have for automotive professionals? And I mean, whether you are a BDC rep, you're a salesperson, you're a manager, you're a GM, you're an owner, what advice do you want to just kind of summarize your experience on this planet and in the automotive industry, sir?
Well, I've stayed in it this long because I stay relevant. Okay, you have to stay relevant. What's changing? You can't. It's a dynamic business. You have to be changing. You have to constantly be educating yourself, constantly be reading, constantly talking to subject matter experts like yourself, like Tim. And what you always have to be looking for what's next. It's just that innate. You have to be curious, right? Humble and hungry. Always willing to learn. And, the other thing is just, I treat everybody, I get all kinds of cold phone calls, right? Somebody's trying to make a living on the other end. So I always try to give them some time. It's ironic. The older I get, the more time is my ally. I'm not in a rush. Thank God I don't have to chase paper right now. I continue to do this because I love doing it and I can still make a nice living at it. And, you become, it's just a transition. I think everybody needs to find, we all have a purpose, and who you are is not what you do for a living. And I think when people realize that, they actually become better at their job. So I think it's important for you to find out, what it is you're great at, and then just invest in it with knowledge, with reading, with collaboration, like you're doing. And I always have enough humility that you're able to take in new information, and as well as share whatever you can, because if I can help somebody else out, that not only makes me successful, that makes me significant.
Look, I love talking to you just on a friend level and as a professional level, because you have not only a tremendous amount of experience and wisdom, but you're so gracious to be able to share, because I don't be cutting you no check for this free information. You know what I mean? You just be blessing the industry, with your knowledge and your experience. And I really wish more people at your level would share information, because I think it would make our industry even better, because Mike, what you do, you affect us on your own team, all of those employees, all their families. But by doing an interview like this, not just in the group, but on the podcast, Mike, we broke 100, we're almost at 140,000 downloads, and you can't fake that. That's real. You can't buy fake downloads. You know what I'm saying? So again, there's a lot of people that are listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast and the group. And so I think there's so many.
And most of them have never heard of me before, and I mean that's okay.
They'll know who you are now, though. I'll tell you that.
But it's important to love what you do and be true to yourself. And this is a tough business and it's competitive. You can't ever change. I'm always going to do right because it's the right thing to do, right? And I'm not going to allow other people's behavior to change who I am. I'm going to continue to share. I'm going to continue to mentor and see, because even the ones that thought they wrongly or took advantage of me 15 years ago, they're still calling me saying, Mike, thanks. And it makes it all worthwhile.
Mike, I love it. Listen, brother, thank you so much for taking the time to share your profound experience and knowledge with us, my friend. And I appreciate you. And
so there you have it, the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast. This podcast comes to you every week from the city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Pennsylvania. If you have a question about the show or would like the chance to become a guest, feel free to contact us directly at 856-546-2440 or email us at millionairecarsalesman@gmail.com. This program is a presentation of Synergy Records, produced by Tiana Mick and L.A. Williams. Production and engineering by L.A. Williams. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is hosted every week by L.A. Williams and the Millionaire Car Salesman himself, Sean V. Bradley. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast can be found everywhere, so please don't forget to review, subscribe to, and share the show. Thanks for listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast, and remember, where I'm from, money provides options. The Millionaire Car Salesman podcast is sponsored in part by VinQ and AutoWeb and Call Source. If you enjoyed this podcast, then make sure to give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and leave us a review. Let some other folks know about it. Oh, and don't forget to join the Millionaire Car Salesman group on Facebook. We'll see you there.